Hi, Allan Dalton here. Last year I wrote a book on AI called Agent to AI-Agent. And one of the subjects I covered very comprehensively was the relationship between AI and pricing. The industry is well beyond that right now. Everybody's using AI for appraisals, for predictive data, and yet maybe not as effectively as they could when it comes to price reductions. That's because here in August 2025, there seems to be a lot more emphasis on the need to get price reductions, whether you call them price adjustments or adjusting shelf positioning, whatever. At the end of the day, we've got to get the prices down on a lot of your listings. I'm sure you'd agree with that. That's what I want to cover here, succinctly and yet comprehensively. And so I have a few items I'd like to share with you. Number one, the price reduction must begin during the first marketing presentation, or some of you still say the listing presentation. At that time, you want to make sure, number one, you never use the word comps, because using the word comps is like saying, let's take a look at some comparable children. And that sets you on the wrong path for a price reduction, because they don't accept your approach to pricing. Because when you say comps, every single home seller, to my knowledge, is going to say the same thing. But they don't have 4 bedrooms, but they don't have a new kitchen. They don't live on a street like this. So what you want to say instead is this: let's take a look at properties which buyers will be evaluating at the same time they're evaluating your home. Next point, give people an option in terms of the pricing, even if in terms of the pricing strategy. That doesn't mean you'll change the pricing recommendations 1 penny, but let them know. Some of our clients want to price it based on the data. Some do the less is more pricing strategy. They want to create competition and a bidding war. And some people price it a little higher because they anticipate that buyers will want to negotiate. So of these 3 pricing strategies, which strategy seems the most suitable? Why do you do that? Because later on, if and when you need a price reduction, you can say, you know what, pricing strategy 3 is no longer effective. We need to change pricing strategy 3 to 1 or 2, because again, it's not, you keep the focus off the price and more on the pricing strategy. The other thing that you've got to make sure is that you never, when you're presenting an offer, never say what so many realtors have said. Well, oftentimes the first offer is the best offer, because that suggests that you're trying to rush people and you lose a lot of the confidence from them in you for when you want to reduce the price, because they seem as though you're more anxious to make a sale than really working on their behalf. The other thing is this: when you're giving criticism, never criticize the home as much as you can criticize the price in terms of this. Don't say, oh, by the way, people don't like the fact that there's not a 3-car garage, or they don't like the fact that there's no swimming pool, or that they don't like that you're on a busy street. Instead, consider saying this: you know, I'm getting a lot of tremendous feedback, only if it's the truth. People love the home. It's just that they're not willing to go over $700,000, even for homes they love this much. Because again, you want to keep that positive relationship. The other thing that I would say is that you always want to use the word we. We need to do this. It's never you need to do this. We need to do this. We need to lower the price. We need to make an adjustment, so forth and so on. So I went into AI and I asked AI for what it thought was the best ways, the best language. Now, obviously, AI knows nothing other than what it gains and gathers from the entire industry. They use their algorithms to go out there and select from the last 50 years, from all of the agents, all of the coaches, all of the trainers, what seems to be the most effective. So if you haven't done that, I'm just going to share a few. These are some of my favorites. Number 1, the market is speaking and we've got to listen to it. Number 2, we need to sell your home before your leverage erodes. I love that. We need to sell your home before your leverage erodes. The next one, we're not competing against other homes, we're helping other homes sell. That may remind some of you of what you've heard me say over the last 30 years. When somebody asks how you're different, folks, rather than focus on how I'm different, I'd rather focus how we have to point out what's different about your home. You see, I don't compete against other agents in the market as much as your home competes against other homes. So the way that I'm different is how we're going to showcase what's different about your home. But that's a little off the subject. Let's get back to the pricing. Folks, you hired me to be honest and not just to agree with you. And let me say this: if I were you, if this was my home, I'd reduce the price to blank. So of the 80 and 90 different responses. Those were my favorites. Now I'm going to add a few things that I've incorporated and I've developed over the years. Okay, number one, a great thing to say in this market, if you're in a marketplace where inventory is rising, prices are decreasing, you might want to consider saying this to your home sellers. Folks, the homes that are going to sell moving forward are with homeowners who are not selling for economic reasons, they're selling for lifestyle reasons. So let me ask you folks this question. Where would you folks rather live over the next few years? See, sometimes we make things too much about the money, too much about the finances, and you've got to remind people that sometimes it's great to have that trade-off. How many of you would move to some other place, even if you could make more money, but you wouldn't love to live there? So folks, what's more important to you? Are you looking to sell more for economic reasons or lifestyle reasons? Another one is this, because price reductions also takes place when you're presenting offers. You're going to have the seller come down in terms of the price. You might want to consider this. Folks, 20 years ago, you purchased this home for $100,000. And the home, we've had it on the market for $1,300,000. You've had an offer for $150,000. The challenge is this. Do you want to it's like you went to the casino, you had $100,000 worth of chips. Now, 15, 20 years later, do you take your chips and cash in your winnings, or do you want to take $1,150,000 worth of chips, pushing them back in the middle of the table, and continue to roll dice to make another $100,000, $150,000? Folks, if I were you, I would cash in my chips, because looking at the information from AI, and by the way, time out. Don't bring up AI if they think it's a joke. You have to find that out, but if they think there's some credibility to that, you can bring up AI. And you can say, based on AI and based on all of the other sources that we employ, your home would have probably sold for more 3 months ago than 2, more 2 months ago than last month, more last month than this month, and based on the predictive data, it should sell for a lot less over the next few months. Cash in your chips. Another way of doing that when you're presenting an offer is to say this. Not when you're presenting an offer, when you're trying to get the price down, to say this to the home sellers. Folks, let's say the home's on for 1.2, and let's say the home's on for $750, and it should be $675 at best. Folks, let me ask this question. If I had a all cash offer for $675,000 tonight, no contingency, so you folks could move to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, would you accept that offer? Oftentimes they'll say yes, because what you're doing is that you're accelerating the timetable by giving them a vignette as though it's happening right now, because privately they're anticipating they're going to lower the price. And then you've got to also tell people that we're also pricing based on algorithms, because buyers more than ever are going, and many home sellers are being punished by their pricing pedigree. And you can say to the home seller, in fact, one of the buyer agents said this to me. My buyer told her that the homes in this town have gone up 25% over the last 5 years, and my client, you folks, they're looking for a 50% return, and it doesn't seem like there was massive improvements. So it's tough to justify that. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it, but all I'm saying is this. If you go to AI, there's 100 different ways that you can get a price reduction. I hope some of this helps. Continue success, and I do hope you'll go get the book, Agent to AI Agent, because there's so much more that I think can help you. Thank you for your kind attention.